This is our annual members picnic, and we're really pleased that so many of you were able to come out today and enjoy our picnic that we brought indoors so we can enjoy the cool air. I know 91 isn't bad compared to some of the picnics we've gone to where it's been 105, but still, it's nice to have it cool. I want to kind of give you the lay of the land, so if you need a facility, it's through the door behind Norma. Norma, wave. The restroom. Restroom there you go. At the table with the liquid refreshment, there is a basket for if you are so inclined to make a donation to the church for air conditioning. There is also an opportunity to sign what do you call it, petition to get the library, support of the library onto the ballot. And Barbara would know more about that, explaining that one that I do.
Last year we had a big deal. It's the same, basically the same petition. It's 1/8 of a penny sales tax. Excuse me, it doesn't affect your property tax or your groceries or anything like that. So that when you buy something, there's a sales tax on it. Basically, before you spend, you would have to spend $8 to spend 1 penny. So that's a pretty good deal. The last one actually won in that they had something like 52 or 53%, but it required a 2/3 majority. They have changed the law. It now requires just a simple minority. Yeah, I wish. But what we really would do is this would double the library budget. It's all designed for the libraries. It would allow new buildings, Wi-Fi. It would allow them to have paid staff. It would mean new books. It could be a lot of money. It doesn't hurt anybody because you can go find a penny off the street. I mean, we're not talking big bucks. Now, if you buy a car, let's say you have a brand new car that costs you $200 over the life of the car. You know.
What's going on down there?
So that's what it is. There's no obligation to sign it, but if you're interested in signing it and you haven't signed it before, you can sign it.
Is this a conflict concert with city trying to raise
It's separate. So theirs passes 1%. This is 1/8 of a penny.
Thank you, Barbara. My husband's going to start the grill, but we thought while we're waiting, we would, I'm going to ask you to take some time to look at the raffle prizes. If you haven't gotten any raffle tickets, if you're interested, Linda has them for sale for more, or more if you want more. Five tickets, $5. 15 tickets, $10.
Or if you've already bought $5 worth, as this gentleman pointed out to me, if you give me another 10, another 5, I'll make you 10.
And we also have some wonderful gifts, items in a silent auction. Linda was so wonderful to donate numerous succulents, and we're very appreciative. And it was, we have a beautiful Afghan that's been donated, and somebody has to remind me who donated that.
Deborah Newcomb.
Deborah Newcomb, and she's not here tonight. Why do I have to ring right now? She's trying to find us, I'm sure.
If you're mobility impaired and we didn't give you enough space to go through for part of the silent action, ask somebody and we'll help you with it, because I just noticed that's a little bit tight for walkers. Anyway, we want to thank the people for the wonderful donations. Linda went above and beyond. Thank you for helping us. So I think what we're going to do is take some time to share our mysterious, absurd, or the murder. And Mary has the sign-in sheet for that somewhere.
Which?
Mysterious, absurd,
Oh, yes.
murder.
I have them over here.
And this is the one to sign in if you're going to tell us a story that might be a little risque.
Would like to sign up? I think they would rather socialize. What do you think?
Well, that's okay. We've got some here that are gonna tell tales.
I'll check back with you.
Come on in. The Rosemary's Creamery for the ice cream social. And we did have to turn in a reservation, so I've got a sign-up sheet here for that too. And that will be on July 17th at 2:30 in the afternoon. So if you're interested in going, please sign up for that one as well.
Would you guys be so kind as to give Kay your attention? She's going to do the sharing, she's going to share about her mysterious absurd or...
Over there?
Okay, let me get out of your way.
Several years ago, my husband and I were in Iowa trying to find some of his relatives. And we get to the cemetery and his relatives are right along the street. It was real handy, except for his daughter. We couldn't find her at all. We kept looking and looking and looking. No Dolly. So we were looking for the house too. So I went to the post office and asked where the house was, and I just asked where would Dolly Keith be buried. This lady kind of giggles. And she says, "Come here, I got to tell you about Dolly." Well, it seems Dolly had a reputation around town. And that's all she said. She didn't tell me what the reputation was. But she says, "You'll find Dolly buried outside the fence in the back of the cemetery." Sure enough, she was there. Sure enough, she was right out in back. Oh, I probably didn't bring that picture. So, we now know where Dolly is. She does have a headstone. But, for some reason, they never moved her in with the family. Kind of strange. Then I need to tell you about the Bloody Bender family. Yes, the Bloody Benders. Now, there was John Bender, Elvira, Kate, and John. Now, John and Kate could have been their children. They were the right ages to be the children of John and Elvira. Nobody knows if they were actually family members or weren't. But these people moved into southwest Kansas in the early 1870s. I don't know where they came from, but they came together. People started disappearing after they had visited the Bender Inn. And finally, this doctor, local doctor, was missing. He didn't get to where he was supposed to be. So they started looking for him. So they looked over here, and then they stopped at the Bender. Nah, they hadn't seen him. So they went on. Well, that kind of got suspicious. So they rounded up the local posse in the county. It was Labette County, Kansas, which is next to Crawford County and a couple other counties around there. They have this association called the Anti-Horse Thief Association. It was a posse kind of thing. And they started looking for this doctor. Well, they never found him. They never found him. By the time this posse got to the Bender Inn, it was cleared out. They were gone. Nobody there. Oh, that got all the more suspicious. So they started digging things up. They found a trap door in the kitchen, dining room area. And there were a couple bodies down there. People they didn't know, but there were some bodies down there. They ended up finding about 18 or 19 bodies in the garden and under peach trees in the orchard. Well, my great-grandfather was part of this Anti-Horse Thief Association. And according to his stories, they chased the Bender family to northern Oklahoma, which was probably maybe 50 miles. They caught them at a big oak tree, northern Oklahoma, and they hung them, all 4 of them. And they buried the money that they found with them because it was blood money. And they weren't going to have anything to do with blood money. Well, okay, that's my grandpa's story. I'm sticking with it too. We found the Bender Museum in Coffeyville, Kansas. We went and visited it one day. They even have the hammers that the Benders used to kill the people. They bring them in, set them down at a table like this. There was a curtain back here. And the old man and the son would stand back there, and when the guy was so enthralled with Kate out here making eyes at him, they'd whap him upside the head and bury him someplace and steal his money. Well, these ladies wrote a book about the Bender family. I have it. It's safe in my house someplace. And when we went and visited them, I repeated my story about great-grandpa chasing them to Oklahoma. And she says, well, that's a whole new story. I haven't heard that one. There are stories of the Benders being seen in Detroit, in Chicago. They split up, they stayed together. They don't know whatever happened to the Benders. They don't know if they're still out there. Yeah, but it was a kind of a gruesome story. Yeah. But there was a $2,000 reward in 1873. $2,000 reward if somebody found them. And then there's a road sign out on the road. The big thing about the Bloody Benders, so you can go see where it all took place. So, but I wondered who my grandfather actually hung. Since this was a whole new story for that lady. I wonder what 4 people actually got hung. So, yeah.
Linda Wong, you're next. Okay, well, that he may have hung a Bender, but I have a real murderer in my family. Besides the Bender. Okay, so my great-grandma, Grandma Bates, I was alive when she was alive. I was I was around when she was alive, and I remember her. And there were these stories that we had always heard about her father, who would be my great-great-grandfather. His name was Elisha Rogers. And so in the 70s, she was getting older. She was up there, and she wrote her memories. And so what I'm going to do with you is take you on a little journey of family lore and the real truth. So the family lore, here it is. So Grandma Bates wrote this. Sylvia, which is her mom, who married Elisha, our person. Sylvia married a man by the name of Leah Henry Rogers, also known as Elisha. In later years, they dropped the letter D from their name and spelled it Rogers, R-O-G-E-R-S. We've all been through that name thing. He was Sarah Warner's coachman, And so she objected to the marriage as she thought her family was above ordinary people, like the coachman. In consequence, she disinherited Sylvia and would not let her help in any way, and would not help her in any way from then on. In 1862, they were living in San Francisco. In 1862, Sylvia and Elisha moved to Inyo County and bought a small ranch on George Creek. The nearest town was Lone Pine, which was 12 miles away. The house was a sod house. They lived there for a number of years, where Sylvia had 4 daughters. In the fall of 1869, 2 months before Effie was born, Effie is the great-grandma. 1869 becomes important. Lee Rogers, also known as Elisha, got into trouble with the law. A greedy German neighbor moved the division bin several times onto Rogers' land, then claimed the water ditch. They quarreled, and it became so violent that and became so violent the neighbor shot at Rogers. In self-defense, Rogers shot him twice, killing him. The Indian boy by the name of George, about 17 years old at the time, that Rogers had raised, was a witness. Rogers was arrested and tried in Independence, California. He was convicted and sentenced to 5 years. The boy was not allowed to testify because he was an Indian. The point that convicted him was that he shot the man twice. So most of the people, including the sheriff, thought it was a miscarriage of justice. He was held in jail for a while, and then his wife, Sylvia, great-grandma Sylvia, got a file to him. The sheriff stayed away while he filed off the Oregon boot, and I'll show you that, they had put on him. Then the sheriff told him the door was unlocked and a saddled horse was tied outside. Sounds like movies, doesn't it? The sheriff then left for dinner. Rogers took the horse and escaped to Convict Lake, where other escapees were hiding out. He stayed there for 7 years. Have you seen pictures of Convict Lake? It's desolate. Anyways, so he stayed there for 7 years. Several times he came back at night to visit his family. In later years, he said that he wished he had served the 5 years and had come back to his family. When he left Convict Lake, he lived on a small farm he owned located in the Santa Cruz Mountains. He died there sometime in the mid-1890s. Well, I'm still trying to find him. I've been looking for 5 or 10 years. Here's the Oregon boot that they had at the time, which is just a boot with this big steel contraption on it that supposedly Sylvia gave him a file and he filed off. I don't know. That was family lore. So now I'm researching, right? Fast forward like 5 years ago. I find a newspaper article from May 30th, 1866. Grandma said that all took place in 1869. Of course, she was born in 1869, but the murder, the story is actually 1866. So this is from the Sacramento Daily Union. He says, homicide. A correspondent writing of Camp Independence, because there was no Inyo County at that time. Camp Independence, Inyo, May 19th, furnishes the following information. On Monday last, May 14th, a murder was committed near George's Creek, Wellenhurster, about 10 miles south of this place. The murderer man is Theodore Bayer, that's the German, a peaceable, hardworking German. Remember, Grandma said he was greedy. Okay. He was he was out at a distance from the house, hunting birds, when he was fired upon by his next-door neighbor, Rogers. The double-barreled gun of Rogers was loaded with large shot, which entered the arm and breast of Bayer. He endeavored to escape after being shot, but was followed up by Rogers and dispatched with a revolver. There had been a dispute for some time in regard to a claim of water which supplied the 2 ranches of both parties. After shooting Bayer, Rogers informed his nearest neighbors, like he goes over to his neighbor and says, hey, I just shot the German out here. I guess it was okay back then. And Rogers informed his nearest neighbors and went with them to the spot where Bayer was now found dead. Rogers was held for examination when the presiding justice decided that his term of office had expired. So he's like, no, my term of office is done now, so I'm not going to talk about this, and declined setting in the case. The feeling of the people is quite strong against him, considering it is a case of unjustifiable homicide. At present, Rogers is confined at this post, which was Camp Independence in Inyo County. As the newly elected officers of Inyo have not yet qualified, Rogers may go to Visalia for trial. Can't find him there. He regards the act with cool indifference and does not seem to fear the consequences. So now then the last bit, June 25th, 1866. The new county, because right at this time, Emmanuel County is now forming, now it's like actually formed. The new county is commenced with a bloody record. The first case before the aforementioned judge, we talked about him earlier, was the examination of E.H. Rogers for the murder of Theodore Bayer, which has already been noticed in the papers. That was the one we just talked about. After a long and tedious examination, Rogers has been held to answer for the crime of murder, and he is now heavily ironed in his iron boot, and in charge of the guard at Camp Independence, waiting for the action of the grand jury, which of course I can't find anything about any of that. Just as a little side note, in this search I found 2 second cousins. So they are descendants of Elisha and Sylvia, but one of the 4 daughters. And so my grandma Bates had her sister, and these are descendants of that line. So we went to Independence, and if any of you have been to Manzanar, the Japanese holding camp, well, this property is just on the side of that, so we were able to drive around, and that's the creek area where the shooting took place. And so that's my brother's great-grandfather, but he's not guilty.
Next, Debbie Slater. Come on. Oh, just kidding.
Okay, I'm going to start with this one. I'm sure as many of you know, I am the great-granddaughter of Alexis Godet, who traveled and hunted, etc., with Colonel Fremont. Well, one of the stories that I like to pass on, and this particular one was written in the Big West magazine, 1969. And this talks about Alexis Godet and how in 1844, under the guidance and direction of Colonel Fremont, they were sent up to the Rocky Mountains in the midst of the snowstorms. The snow was so bad that most of the men that were on this expedition were snow blinded and couldn't see. The altitude was 8,050 feet. So they had run out of supplies, they had run out of food, and didn't know what to do. So Colonel Fremont sent word to Alexis Godet, and this is what he told him. He said, Fremont gave directions to Alex Godet to prepare an unexpected feast. Kill our little dog, Tama, he ordered. Godet prepared the unfortunate animal in the Indian fashion. Hair was singed off with the fire. Then the skin was washed with soap and snow, and the carcass cut up into serving pieces which were laid on the snow to cool. A supply of horse meat had arrived by that time, but it was too late for the little dog. Fremont joyously announced to his men, tonight we have an extraordinary meal in store. Pea soup, horse, and dog meat. That was their menu. Another story I like to tell was when Alex Godet was in charge, and it was in Fort Tejon. And the workers were tired, the Indian workers, and then he had some other workers that were there. And so they slacked off a little bit. And Fremont said, well, let's encourage these people to get going and get working. So they had a foreman at that time who had a fake eye. So what they did was, Alex Cody pulled the eye out. And he placed it on a rock where they could see, and he said, you see that eye? It's watching you. Workers got up and they didn't quit till they were told. Yeah, those are my two favorite stories.
That become an
Well, they may not be so hungry right now.
Okay, the next one on our list was Jan Hebert.
I
will apologize, I didn't really think this through because I just got some information from my sister the other night. She had downloaded an audio tape of my dad telling stories about it. And I tried kind of in a rush to find out on Ancestry.com, if I could find any documentation or back anything up. But I'm new at this game and I wasn't very lucky. And I think I even followed a line that I didn't need to follow. So the story is that unfortunately we have a murderous fellow in my family line. And the story went like this. I do remember my dad telling us this when we were teenagers, but then it came back to me and my sister actually had audio tape that he said, so that was wonderful. But anyway, he said that Corky Conway down in West Hollywood was my great-grandfather's brother's son. Now, does that make him my second cousin twice removed? No?
You'd have to put that on these things.
Okay, good, because I was trying to figure it out. That was what I came to.
You put it in on Ancestry and it tells you.
Oh, good. I'll try that. So anyway, he had a rather awful marriage. They had a lot of turmoil in their marriage. They didn't get along very well. And one day, he came home, and I guess back then, I believe this was in the 20s, he pulled his rifle out of the back of his car when his wife met him on the front porch and was growling at him about something, and he shot her. And then his mother-in-law, who lived with them, followed to find out what was going on, and he shot her. And my dad did say that Corky had inoperable tumor, so he was terminal. But obviously that doesn't justify his anger. And then I do believe they had children that Corky called a neighbor and said, the kids are asleep upstairs or something, they're small children, come over and get them, and then he shot himself. So isn't that an awful story? Yeah. I think that's in your background, it's a little alarming, but when my dad told the story, it stuck with me. Like I said, if I could research that. I didn't find anything, but in the audio tape, my dad did say that his Corky's family had some pull in the town at that time. I don't know if you've ever been in LA and walked along the sidewalks and ever seen L.P. Conway stamped into the sidewalks or the curbs. Have you ever noticed that? Well, that was his family. And I guess they had a little bit of pull, and they made sure that it only showed up in the newspaper. My dad said a little square inch story at the very bottom of the page in the newspaper. So kind of anyway, newspaper.com. Okay. But thank you for sharing the
Okay, the last one we have left is Kathy Walker.
There's July 17th, 1895. A human cushion.
9 needles taken from a woman's breast. A mysterious case in Conemaugh Township, the physician and parents of the unfortunate girl are perplexed. How the needles got there remains unsolved. Stories told concerning the odd case. What amazed me about all this is the fact that everything is public. It's, anyway, I found that rather interesting, because we would never today go out and post this in the newspaper. A case unparalleled in its nature, at least in this county, is now under the treatment of Dr. W.B. Walker of Clarksburg. In a recent issue of the Progress, mention was made of an operation performed by Dr. Walker to remove 4 needles from the breast of a young lady in Conemaugh Township. Since that time, 5 other needles were located and removed, the last one being extracted on Wednesday. The unfortunate girl is Miss Jeannie Steffi, daughter of Edward Steffi. Edward is my great-grandfather, and Jenny would be an aunt, great-great-aunt, great-great-great-aunt. Okay. Anyway, Dr. Walker is the family physician of the Steffis, and when called there, he supposed the young woman was suffering from some ailment peculiar to her sex. The afflicted lady is the oldest daughter and is rather attractive. She complained of severe pain in her right breast, which was then examined, and the physician found that it was somewhat swollen. The only external signs which were apparent besides the inflammation was a reddish eruption of the skin in one place, which was covered with a mucus coating.
The doctor knew.
On May 5th, the doctor opened the affected place and his instrument struck a needle which he extracted without much difficulty. Although neither the girl nor her parents could explain how that needle got there, the physician supposed everything would readily heal. But 2 weeks afterwards, he was called in at his office. He was suffering again, and another needle was removed from this very odd place. 2 days later, the doctor succeeded in removing another one. The breast still remained unhealed and greatly swollen, and on May 30th, the doctor succeeded in locating another needle and removed it after some difficulty. During June, 1 more was taken. During the first part of last week, the girl was again seized with severe pains and called in the doctor's office on Wednesday, and he succeeded in removing the 7th needle. The girl was confident that there was another one embedded there somewhere, but the physician couldn't find it. While at home, her father removed 2 more, thus making a total of 9. The suffering which the young girl has endured during the last month must have been something terrible. The physician was compelled to place his patient under the influence of an anesthetic before each needle could be removed. The girl is 17 years of age and in good health, although at one time was subjected to light nervous attacks. The doctor is perplexed over this mysterious patient, and the parents of the girl are at a loss to know how the needles got there. They have resorted to every conceivable plan to win the girl's confidence and persuade her to tell of the malady. The girl's companions have remained at her home and associated with her for 4 days in order to draw out some clue to the cause of her misfortune. The doctor has talked plainly with her, but she has told him different stories concerning the needles. When the first one was found, she told the physician that while nursing a child, she got stuck with the needle, which was in her dress at the time. She told him other absurd stories concerning the others, and even blamed some of her associates with sticking her with needles. These stories are received with doubt, and the physician is almost persuaded to believe that the girl is suffering with mental weakness and is likely guilty of torturing herself in this odd way. It is the most singular case brought under the medical fraternity in this county, and the attending physician and all her friends are at a loss to know just how the needles got there and what would prompt the girl or anyone to torture a human being in this singular matter. The fact that the needles are all located in the same breast proves absolutely that the girl didn't swallow them. Anyway, I thought that was rather absurd. I think she suffered mental weakness.
I never knew my mother was married before she married my father until I was about 60, 65 years old, something like that. So in doing the genealogy, I got the death certificate of her first husband. They were married for 3 weeks. His body was found on the corner of Alameda and Randolph in Huntington Park in Los Angeles.
Right by the railroad track.
That's exactly. Gunshot wound to the head. And I got the official death certificate, and the coroner wrote suicide. In other words, he didn't want to bother to take the time. My cousin back in Indiana, who knows quite a bit about my family too, he thought that this gentleman was associated with the mob, but we don't know for sure. It sounds like a mob wipeout to me. I don't know.
Anybody else? I have a strange one. This is, second great uncle. The brother to my second great grandfather. And we don't know what happened. But what we do know is that somewhere around 1894, the great uncle moved to one area and my great grandfather moved to Arkansas. And both of them changed the spelling of their name. We don't know much about it. But when he got to be older, he started to have problems. And he used to think that the guy he killed was going to come back and get him. So he would keep this hatchet underneath his pillow. When it got too bad, his wife would call the authorities and they would take him to the state asylum in Georgia. And you didn't go to the state asylum very often in Georgia, but he did. And then when it got to be time for the crops to come in, she'd go and get him and bring him back until the crops were put in, and then they'd put him back. So the suspicion is my second great grandfather and him, they were both bootleggers, killed somebody. But we couldn't prove it. No body was ever found. We just know that he went in and out of the state hospital according to the farming season.
Well, yeah. Whatever works.
In the meantime, I would invite you to take a look at the silent auction items up there because we got some pretty stuff. And we have more tickets for sale. And Linda's got more tickets for sale. We're going to have fun with this raffle and make some money for the society at the same time. I saw Larry come in. Larry doesn't have any tickets. I saw it. I'll be right there, Larry.
I have to look and see what's there first.
You don't get to see.
Now,
All the raffle items are wrapped up.
the others are silent auction.
But we've got some really nice silent auction items.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention? Educators.
Did you find enough to eat, Mr. Stewart? Wow. You aren't taking any chances, huh?
Threw that on. Just looked like the closest hand
I put my hand in front of
Get the crop in.
Okay. You all set? Let's go ahead and do our raffle right now. And
Okay, I need someone to look for my raffles.
this is going different than most raffles. We're gonna have fun with this one.
Okay, now,
What we're gonna do is we're gonna draw a ticket, and if you win, you can take your choice of any of these lovely wrapped gifts. And then you open it. And then we'll draw another ticket. And the next person can either take your gift, or they can take a new gift. Everybody understand? Okay, Barbara, first one up, there you go.
okay, green ticket.
Go ahead, once,
Okay,
just
green,
once.
green ticket. 7166688. So probably it's going to be 688. 688.
688, got it.
Okay.
Okay, Irene, you're first up, come take your pick. All of the wrapped gifts.
Your choice.
This could be a new camera,
We
maybe.
believe you.
You do.
The wrapped ones, Irene, the wrapped ones.
I like the wrapped ones.
Well, you can have that one too. The bid is currently $10.
Are they, Mary, are they down here too?
Yes, yes, all wrapped.
Anything wrapped.
Okay, Irene, open it up. Let's see what you got.
Let's see if we want it, Irene.
Yeah. That's what happens.
Okay. Let's see what we
Draw
got.
the next one.
Okay, the next one is a green ticket.
We have to see that before.
We have to see what she's got before.
Well, we do it. It's in a box.
Yeah, but she's gonna open the box.
She can open the box. Okay.
That way, whether or not the next person wants that or not. I happen to know that one might.
That might create a little bit of envy.
I wrapped that good.
I'll go get a pair of scissors.
There's an easy way to do it. How's that?
It was put together very well, wasn't it?
That's true. You can get it open now.
She's still looking.
A bottle. A bottle.
That looks pretty good to me.
Okay, Barbara, what's the next number then?
It's a green 708. Green 708.
Barbara wins another one.
Barbara wins it? Woo! Okay, Barbara.
I'm going to take another prize because I'm not a white wine person. I'm going to take this one. I can open it. Now, let's see what's in here. Something soft. Ooh. Now this. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Ooh, I
Okay, next ticket.
The next person gets to choose either the wine, the throw, or pick a package. They can do one. Okay, a green ticket, 694. 694, green ticket.
694.
694.
The last one. Oh, I think that's,
Yeah,
it's mine.
It was programmed.
Okay, then pick something new. Oh, here, here's my ticket.
This is a nice group. Normally, there's a lot more competition for taking.
Well, maybe we'll
Just
get
wait.
deeper into it.
Just wait.
Well, if nothing else, I like the bags.
And a lovely bag.
Oh, you're waiting.
Now let's see.
You can't cheat. Lovely. Blue ticket. Blue ticket. Oops. Sorry about that. Yes, the last three numbers are 303.
Oh, right here.
303. Okay. What is it?
So it's 342.
You don't need coffee.
She's gonna come get it.
Okay, I see it now. See, they're all in order.
Yeah, I see it.
I'll be nice.
So, yeah, so.
You don't have to, it's not a
I know, I know.
Figure it out.
Let's see.
Okay.
The last three?
You got it. Okay. You nabbed it up, Dixie.
See if I want it.
That's too bad. If you want it, somebody else will want it too.
Christmas puppy?
Okay, I'll show it.
I like that. Right here. Okay, green ticket, 772. Green ticket. Light green, 772.
Right over here.
Melanie.
Someone takes the gift, you
Okay. What?
I said I'm not taking
Oh, you're gonna take the
anything.
blue one?
Good girl.
She's nice.
Flower drying kit.
Okay, a green ticket, 741. 741. Right here. Bingo. Bingo. Okay. Bingo.
This is my route to come.
Everybody give him a
It's a nice one.
Yeah, my one.
You can go all the way down to the end of that table right there.
How's my bid?
It's still the flies.
On the clock?
Yes.
Richard is for $14 right now. You got
We'll give you the opportunity to come back to those.
Don't get that one, you have to get one of these that's wrapped. That's wrapped.
Anyone that's wrapped,
Anyone that's wrapped.
it has to be wrapped. Want some?
This one?
That's pretty.
I keep them.
Toxic Kleenex.
You never can tell.
That's useful.
Take about an hour to get home.
Right here, go.
See what we got.
To get better, you can't get worse.
Well, I want to know what it is too. You know what that means? Oh, now we get someone who's prepared.
There's nothing in there.
You can tell who wraps some of these.
Nourishment.
Yeah, we have a plane. Okay, a And if you're still hungry after all of this, the green ticket, $7.99. $7.99, you can take a gift or trade one. Got it?
Let's pick one out. Let me just check what I want. You. Check them out.
Get the wine from mother-in-law.
Tell the ladies to pick out all these gifts. Yeah.
You need the glasses, please?
Yeah.
Here's one.
Thank you. Now we gotta find out what it's got.
More wrapping paper. It's a CD.
Oh, Woodland. Oh, that's relaxing. Woodland Harmony.
Music, that sounds great. Okay,
Is it like a CD?
green ticket,
Is it like a music?
750. 750. You got it, okay.
Another one?
Oh, my goodness. Get those tickets, girls.
Hey, I got a CD over here. Please, what is this? Woodland Harmony.
Woodland music. Calming, relaxing.
Bar music. Okay, we try this one.
Okay.
Your dog is barking. Your dog is barking.
Dog's barking. I got a new one. Dale picked this one, so you can't blame me. 285. 285. Is that blue? 285. Look for blue one, 285. Really? 285? Nobody here?
I'll claim it, but I don't have a ticket. It's gotta be here somewhere.
There's blue.
It is blue, like this. 285.
Who's got blue tickets? Who's picking something off?
Another one, 285? No, last call. Okay.
Wait a minute. Yeah, we got it.
Took a little bit of time.
Like glasses, I gave them soon.
It is legit.
That's an interesting one.
What's your favorite socks?
Socks.
Oh.
Sure, that's what comes with like.
Well,
Christmas towel.
yeah.
No,
kitchen towel. This one.
Kitchen towel. All right. Okay. Next number, blue. If you've got a blue ticket, look at them. Or if nobody calls, check Betty's. 308. 308.
Right here.
I told you it was lucky.
Okay. Yeah, no one. Wait.
I'm gonna take Irene's,
You can come get another one.
oh, you're cold-blooded.
Not even for all those pictures.
Check them out, maybe there's a bottle.
Is it? Yeah. This guy like the champagne.
I knew he was going to. I had a feeling he was that. I'll take this one.
Wine coaster.
I've got martini glass.
Any glasses, go get him.
You guys have a party over there. Okay, next ticket, green ticket. 860.
That's not you.
860.
I think it's me. Again. I am not going to take my martini glass. Okay. You want a CD? I think I'm going to something. That's
Very feminine looking. Looks like homemade jam.
No, it doesn't feel that way.
Not heavy enough.
Who's the guy with the knife? Right there. I always pull out the knife.
I got scissors.
Oh, here, I got it. I got it. Thank you.
And he pulls out a knife.
Yeah. Perfumes in decorated ceramic vases.
That sounds interesting.
That's gorgeous.
That is really cute.
That's creepy.
Cute. That is lovely.
Thank you. Oh, some of the, all right.
Okay, a blue ticket, 306. 306, blue ticket.
Right here.
Yay!
Can I keep mine?
Oh, you can pick another one. You can pick another one. You can keep yours and pick another one.
I thought someone took it away.
Did somebody take yours?
Someone take yours away and give it back.
Huh?
Did somebody take yours?
Not yet.
Oh, no, well, you get another one then.
You get another one. You thought maybe that one would take yours?
Yes.
Somebody take it. No, it doesn't count.
Okay, here's the 306.
Oh.
I'll do it right here, so I don't have to. Oh darn, I should have got that wine for Irene.
Well, now there is.
It's right here.
You can get Larry. Some pretty dishes.
Even
Nobody to see him.
I think it is.
Appetizer for
It's in the bag, it's a little, like flowers, tropical.
Okay, 3 Green, 848. 848, green.
Stand aside when you open it. I had to
848,
blow off,
green.
knock a hole in my.
Dude,
I mean, I've had
Green one.
Got
Okay.
It's me! Well, see, that's what happens when you buy a lot of tickets, right?
Buy a lot of tickets.
I have to buy my own stuff. Okay.
Get Larry's bottle of wine.
Larry wants a party later.
Maybe this is something that'll go with my glasses.
This right here.
Okay, gotta see what it is. Here's the scissors.
It's like Christmas. Oh my God. Oh, you cannot take this from me. My husband will love this.
Oh,
my gosh. Even though he's Chinese, he was a surfer back in the day.
Wow.
And just, I mean, if you want to.
Is that a sympathetic story?
He's trying to hunt you down.
My grandson would just love this blanket.
Okay.
Your glasses, man.
Green ticket, 712. Green ticket, 712. Green.
Barbara wins again.
Let's try this one.
He'll be all over that. He's got a shirt. This is Tommy Bahama. He's got a Tommy Bahama shirt. Yeah. He'll be decked out.
Well, this is not going to tell us anything. We're going to have to look a little harder.
It's upside down.
Okay, I like what it It is beautiful. Okay, don't get attached. Do I have to? Okay, wishful thinking anyway. Green ticket, 672, 672.
Here. Pull your ticket with your other
Green
hand.
ticket, 672.
Hey, I think it's me.
Thank you.
672.
Let's go surfing now, everybody. That's okay.
save it for a minute.
Okay. Now let's kind of see what this is.
It's a box.
The CD.
Yes.
I tried to give you one.
It's a CD.
Oh!
Oceanside.
Nice. Those parts are open. Oh, gosh.
I need to listen to God to make myself happy in the heat.
Green ticket, 775. Green ticket, 775.
Right over here.
Okay.
You want to see?
Yeah.
All together. Those are the socks.
Long socks. These are, there you go.
Tights. Okay.
Please do not ask.
It's just paper.
No.
Still don't know what it is.
Looks like an apron.
Yeah, it's an apron.
Very nice. Use aprons. Okay. We've got lovely aprons and it's green ticket. 690. 690.
690.
Hi, Larry. It's good to see you. I'll take your bottle of wine.
You got it back right here.
Larry, why don't you come get another one?
It's all for you ladies.
You never know.
Yeah, she has the coaster and the wine. Mine is hers now. There, I can't be.
What is it? It's a lady's purse. A glass purse for glasses.
Let's see.
And this.
Just what you want in there, dearie.
Treat for a glass of wine.
Okay, green ticket, green ticket. 889. Green ticket, 889.
What, I'm sorry, what was the number?
889. Green ticket. Oh, I got it. This is it.
It sure is.
You want to put?
It's yours. You can take anything you want or.
Oh, I have it on the authority. It's from Greece. And it's open up the very top.
Okay. Somebody pick one. Somebody pick one.
Oh, Larry. You and I will have to talk.
We'll trade. My grandkids are too far away to get that.
Blue ticket. 335. Blue ticket, 335. Okay.
Yeah.
Take one or pick one?
It's got little nasties on them.
Well, it's not that bad, really. Not that bad.
Okay, you get another one.
Oh, okay.
Take another one. I have a CD over here, Norma.
But I have a potty cutter available.
It's candle.
Okay. Green ticket. 719. Green ticket, 719.
Barbara wins again.
Oh my God.
Wow. Okay.
Three winners.
Barbara, don't you need this golf game?
Yeah, Barb. I don't know, my husband may be into that. I know my son.
Wow. Let's see if it's, yes. It's Crystal Glassware. Oh. Nice. Lovely. Very nice. Okay, where do we hide it?
I'll put it over with your pile.
Okay. You can take one, if you can remember where we
They're
get
right
it.
over there.
Green ticket, 756. 756, green ticket. 756. Green ticket, 756. Got it. Okay. Let me get it.
Over there.
Oh, yeah.
It's either this or the library.
Well, you can make a donation to the library. I should. Public library.
Oh, you like that. Chef.
Oh, that's nice. Okay. Green ticket. Okay, green ticket, 689. Green ticket, 689.
You want to guess who's got it? Oh, 689.
Yes.
Draw me a ticket before you go. Thank you.
Make sure you comments.
Yeah, move them around.
Don't you need some glasses
Lovely.
for your wine?
This is the only two left after this one.
Clock. To time you when you drink it.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Okay, green ticket, 830. Green ticket, 830. Linda. Okay.
You did say 830, right?
830. You can take anyone you want, or you can. Got a CD over here. Yeah, you have to open it. What care? Oh, what?
Okay, what is it? This is the last one.
Before you do that, I want everybody to be aware, you may be passing this up, I'm gonna read to you. The potty putter comes with a putting green made from the same professional carpet found at miniature golf courses. A cup with a flag, 2 golf balls, a putter, and most importantly, a do not disturb door sign.
One more. This is the last one.
And this one can't draw, he can't steal again, because the other person wouldn't have one to take. So whoever gets this one is stuck with it.
Okay, the green ticket, 746.
Yeah.
746.
Jerry's up.
I'd rather have you than that CD.
We changed it a little bit. You can pick from anyone you found, and the other one gets the
I don't want
last
that
one.
CD.
You can have Larry's purse.
Well, I never do a potty either. I'll take my gamble. What did I get here? This one.
This one.
Give it to the boss.
You don't want this. Gotta open it.
Well, actually, it doesn't really matter now, because we don't have any more.
Wait, yes. Okay, should we give them one last try at the silent auction?
Could you report how much money we made on the raffle as soon as we're finished doing it on?
And a gift card to check.
There was. Okay, take these and take them to Larry, and Larry's gonna tell you how much you owe.
Safe over there with Larry?
Just don't touch his line.
How do you know it's mine?
Because Larry's gonna do this, and then he's gonna give us a report. Aren't we, Larry?
Yes, you're gonna help me out too.
And we have a Coca-Cola dispenser here at the.
You're the one?
Hold on, like a-
Okay.
We got this.
Okay, Larry, okay.
You haven't paid for it.
Green is last name.
This one,
Are they married?
this one's mine. It's Mary's.
So I have.
This one right here is Mary's.
You want one?
Yep, yep.
I do too.
Where did my ticket? He better not have, he's taking it home. Your bag for you.
What'd you bet on that?
Okay.
Is Raleigh in the bathroom?
I'm gonna get out.
You didn't hide it, huh?
I wouldn't dare have one
Okay.
at home.
Afghan is Linda Finch. Beautiful handmade. Yeah, you have to pay it with Larry.
Oh, that's the one that Rachel wanted.
Okay.
Oh, you got
This
the
one right
plan.
here, Kathy Walker.
I'll go around, don't get up, don't get up, I'll go around. I know you'll hit me with that cane if I push you too hard.
This one right here, Brenda Wong.
Okay, I'm not a golfer.
Okay. This one right here, 18.
Ooh, enough.
Thanks for coming out, leave that out there. Is this between? Just hang on a minute. Okay, is there anything else?
Okay. Gary Chapman.
Where'd she get it?
Oh, wait, never mind.
You can either take it with you or come back to pick it up. No, this one's Irene. Irene?
You want
Wait a second. It might be, it's me. The picture's framed?
Yeah,
It's me.
it's you. I can't read the writing. I thought it looked close to Irene. Okay, forget it.
I'm left-handed, you can't read.
All we care about is the money.
Did I rewrite something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that picture
For
framed.
the record, I got the gift card.
6.
I did. And I got the
Hey,
fair.
we went some stuff with my money.
Never gonna see it.
And we did have one that we did not have a bid on, but because we felt so sorry for poor Irene because she lost her wine, we thought we would give her more.